So, welcome to today's final webinar of this SDS series. It is on workforce development. My name is Tess McLean, and I'm an employer engagement executive here at Skills Development Scotland. With us on the call today, we have Alistair Gillen. He's going to be doing a bit of admin and IT for me. And we also have our guest speaker today, Michael Cusack. So we've got a fantastic day lined up. We're going to learn all about workforce development, and we're going to have a fantastic chat with Michael today in a kind of interview style. We're going to talk through workforce development and how it's supported his organisation. So, like I said, my name's Tess McLean, Employer Engagement Executive here at SDS. My background is HR. Before I came to SDS, I was a HR generalist and then moved into working actually in third sectors, small organisations, working on their people planning and their skills planning. So that's why I've moved nicely into SDS. So I'm really excited to be talking about workforce development today with everybody. Like I say, please keep your questions coming throughout. Alistair will be collecting them, and we'll have space at the end of the session to ask Michael any questions. Okay, so today, this is our aim for our session today. If I can get it to come on the screen. Is anybody seeing any writing on this screen? Alistair, can I get you to check?
Not appearing yet.
No, it's got one of these fancy
if you want to come out and start again, it should.
That isn't actually working. So 2 moments. Here we go. It was working earlier. I'm just going to talk onto the screen. So basically today, this is basically just explaining our session goals. So today we're going to give an overview of the workforce development, and we're going to give that basic overview from a skills perspective and SDS perspective. So seeing it from where we take workforce development. So we're taking it right back to the beginning. Then we'll want to identify the benefits and the challenges of workforce development. We're going to do this by speaking to Michael and seeing what he's found in the past and what's benefited his organisation and challenges that he may have come across as well. And then we'll have a little discussion about if you're interested in your workforce development, whatever stage you're at, whether you're at the very beginning of your journey or halfway through, or you're just looking to review and revise it, just how to get started and what you can do at your workforce development at this time. And then also we'll hopefully offer up some practical examples and resources. Again, through discussions with Michael, he'll give us hints and tips, but also resources that we can talk about how SDS can support you through your work planning journey. And we will send those resources out at the end of the webinar as well. So I bet you that will work now that I'm trying to move on slide. And of course, I'll say it again, please keep your questions coming because we'll have question time at the end. Okay, so the SDS definition of workforce development. Let's take it right back to the beginning. What are we talking about? Where are we starting from, and what can we offer? So I'm just going to say what it says on the tin. Workforce development is the onboarding, training, upskilling, and continuous improvement offered by employers that support, create, sustain, and retain a viable workforce. Now, we understand that's a bog standard definition of workforce development, but here at SDS we do understand that every organisation is so different. Whether you're an SME or a large organisation, you'll be needing different skills and therefore needing different people planning. You'll have your own growth trajectory, so you'll have your own growth plans. You'll be trying to implement your own cultures within your organisations, and you'll also be thinking about your business strategies and the outputs and your finances and your USPs. Some of you might be working against a target operating model, trying to achieve that. You'll be from different sectors and have different needs, and you could be from different regions and have different talent pools to suit your to try and suit your organisation. So all in all, here at SDS, we do understand that there's a lot that goes into workforce development, especially if you are a large organisation with lots of people to be considering in different departments, but also for a small organisation, because there can be different constraints for the size of your business. So here at SDS, we do offer different services to support you along the way and at different levels as well. So we have a generalised employer helpline. Now, again, it isn't the biggest slide in the world, so we will be sending this all out after the webinar. But we do have an employer helpline, and this is a helpline you can phone anytime if you have any generalised questions that can support the employer, especially around things like our apprenticeship programme and things like that. We also have the relationship account executives. These are the people that can help the larger organisations, the ones that are above 250. We have our growth and inward investment team. They will help the economic strategy of the larger organisations out there and coming into Scotland. And then, of course, we've got me, an employer engagement executive, the second one from the end there. And we offer a wide range of services to support the SME under the 5 to 250 level. So what do I offer SMEs 5 to 250? I'm not 100% sure exactly who's on the call today, but I suspect we will have SMEs on here interested in what support is out there. So we've got our main service offer, which is called Skills for Growth. And this does what it says on the tin. We support organisations that are going through a period of growth, and we can support them in their skills planning and therefore their workforce development. We also have a self-serve. So if you go into the website, again, all will be sent out at the end, called Employer Hub. This is an amazing website which can give you lots of hints and tips on how to skills plan and people plan. And also you'll find amazing resources like all the links to the up and coming webinars that SDS are hosting as well. So please check out the Employer Hub if you ever get a chance. It's a self-serve. And please sign in, because the more you sign into the website, the more function it offers you. And then, of course, SDS offer the apprenticeship programme. So check out apprenticeship.scot, which is an essential thing to look at if you're thinking about your workforce development, succession planning, upskilling, recruiting young talent. So have a look at all these websites to see if any of it can support you. And of course, get in touch if there's any questions or if you need any more detail. So that's an SDS perspective of workforce development. Let's have a look at the CIPD and what they're saying about workforce development. So obviously, CIPD was a HR practitioner, so CIPD is our Bible. So having a look there, we're seeing that actually CIPD like to put a bigger umbrella to workforce development. They like to put it under workforce planning and talent acquisition. And they've got this nice little picture here. I would say model, but it's more of a picture just to kind of understand your talent planning. And this comes from the 2024 CIPD talent planning. So basically going through the 5 Bs, you can either buy in your talent, people that already have the right skills and the right qualifications in place for your specific needs as an organisation that meets your job description and your person's specification. Perfect. That is an excellent way to bring in your talent, because you've got the right people coming in to the right job. However, that could be costly. Also, have you got the right talent pool in your area? Do you have enough people with these right skills coming forward for the job? So buy, as much as it sounds nice, there is sometimes challenges to just buying in the team that you would like. So of course you can build your team. And this is where you can think about upskilling, training, your onboarding into your organisation, your culture, and essentially mould your workforce to what you require for your growth trajectory in your organisation. Having a look at what your team needs to get you to where you would like to go in your strategic plan and also your business plan. So that's where you build your talent. Of course, you can borrow, you can contract out. Most companies do rely on borrowing talent now and again, and they will contract out, and this is generally on a temporary basis, and again, can cost quite a bit of money. Also, we talk about binding talent in your talent acquisition, and this really is about your employee value proposition. So when you bind your team, you bind them with like intrinsic and extrinsic benefits. So your extrinsic benefits are your salary, your bonus, your perks, your pension, anything that's tangible for your workforce to want to work for you and stay with your organization. So you've got high retention and not a high turnover. But also you've got your intrinsic benefits as well. So you've got to consider your culture, your career paths. And I'm not talking careers that necessarily go all the way up, but your career paths within your organization, opportunities, the ethics of your organization, and actually that builds your brand as a whole. And then, of course, your motivation of your team, that goal setting. Are your team motivated to be working within your organisation, getting to where you need to be? And finally, of course, there's bounce. This is where you might look at your team and think, actually, we do need to reduce our team, but this could come in things like redundancy. So retirement, first of all. So you'll need to think about succession planning for that retirement and that overhaul. It could be natural. People leave naturally through, things like sickness, maternity. Again, think of succession planning. And then also you've got redundancy and things like voluntary service as well. So where does workforce development fit within this model? Predominantly it fits in build your team. So when you come in and you're doing your workforce planning and your talent acquisition, you think, right, how are we building our team? What do we need our team to look like in the next year or 2 years to 5? And then also workforce development would fit under bind. It has been proven time and time again that teams that are learning, are being goal setting, who are continually improving in their profession, have that intrinsic motivation when it comes to their organisation. And of course, workforce development then would sit in bounce as well. If you've got natural leaving within your organisation through maternity, sickness, or retirement, you'll have to start thinking about that succession planning. So you could maybe identify people in your team to build into those next levels and stages of their career. So that's the CIPD. Again, you could do a whole hour on CIPD and workforce planning, but this is just a quick overview today. There we go. Okay. Okay, so some of the things, where do you get started, and some of the things to consider when you're starting your workforce planning journey. Think about the forces that you've got to consider when doing your workforce development. Think about your strategic plan, your business plan. What are you trying to create within your organisation, and where are you going from the next 2 to 5 years' time? And then consider, how does that impact your people, and do you have any gaps? And you can do this by looking at many different levels of your organisation, from your leadership to your management. What kind of leadership do you want? How do you want your teams to be led? To forecasting for the future, thinking, we're in this digital age, this time of Industry 4.0, where we've got to think, are we ready for what's coming around the corner in the next 5 to 10 years with the digital advances in cybersecurity, AI, for example? So do those gap analysis of your organization, that kind of forecasting. Not that you have a crystal ball, but forecasting is a good way to collect data to consider how you're going to develop your workforce in the future. And then always consider the equality and diversity of your team. Don't have any barriers up that means that you're not getting the right talent into your team at the right time. And then when you've considered what you should be thinking about before you start your workforce development, there's obviously lots of different approaches you can take to your workforce development. If you can have quite a holistic approach where you think about each individual in your organisation and what their needs are to do the role and to progress in their career. Do they have particular skills that they require to do their role effectively? So you can have this holistic approach. Or you might be aligning to a business strategy where you've got to think, right, this is where our department needs to be in the next 5 years' time. Also consider lifelong learning, CPD, as a policy, as in your skills don't stop as soon as you get those skills, get an interview and then get the job. How are you going to support that person in their full, in their career and in their journey and the role? You can consider at this point actually the technical hard skills that they might need, but also the softer skills that they might need over time. Things that are always changing and evolving, from technical IT skills that might be changing to softer skills like leadership, management, team working, creating that culture of learning within your team. Can't forget about meta skills as well. Something I could do a whole webinar on, so please look up meta skills on the SDS website. Do you work in collaboration? Do you work in partnership with other organisations to create or to source your workforce development? And do you work in collaboration, not just with other partners, but your employees as well? Do they have say in how the workforce development will look for them and the organisation? Again, I've spoken about this briefly before about equality and diversity, but addressing barriers, ensuring that you've got the right people in the right time in the right place, but making sure that there's no barriers up to stop the right person coming in. And again, I think I just mentioned this, but being future orientated, understanding the changing markets, the changing market forces that are out there. And I keep on mentioning digital, but whatever sector you're in, what does that changing market look like for you? And are you prepared? Are you prepared to be agile and pivot within the next couple of years' time? I mean, of course, we can't forecast, have a crystal ball for the next pandemic, for example, and nobody saw that one coming. But the companies that did the best in the pandemic were the ones that were able and were agile enough to move into digital, to move into Teams, and were able to shift through a changing time. So again, just another quick model just to quickly show that idea of working from almost like the top down, working on your strategic plans and what culture you're trying to implement with your team and your core values as well. For example, do you have health and safety as one of your core values in your organization? Well, can you then prove that how you're implementing that throughout your workforce development at every level? And then it should trickle down your strategic planning culture into your operation models, whether you work towards a business plan, a target operation model, work planning, skill, lots, every business has different operational plans and how they work their organization. But do you have skills in those plans? Are they prevalent and people at the front of your planning for the future? Now, you'll see a little offshoot to the side as well, because we do also have skills for growth. And I think this would be an opportunity to say skills for growth can help in your skills planning in this operational area of your business as well. And then, of course, what you're hoping for a learning culture, you're hoping for a culture that can reflect and continuously improve, and you've got your upskilling and your training, and you're getting the right people in the right place at the right time for your organization, who are hopefully motivated and ready to take your business to where you need to be. And that is the joy of workforce development, making people be on the same journey as your business. So that's our quick introduction and a quick roundup tour of workforce development from an SDS and CIPD angle. But now we're going to be inviting in our guest speaker. I have the absolute pleasure to invite in our guest speaker today. Michael Cusack is joining us from ACS. And can I just say, the work Michael has been doing on workforce development over the last, I'm going to say 10 years, has just been revolutionary. Some of the stuff that you've been doing is so innovative. Excuse me, get my tongue back in my mouth. But it's been, when you tell us about it, I know the audience today are not only going to be impressed, they're going to be inspired to go away and have a good think about their workforce development, whatever stage that they're at. So let me just do a quick introduction to you, Michael, and then we will get you in to have a good chat. So Michael is a seasoned professional with extensive experience working for blue chip companies across Europe, Asia and the Americas. Over the past 12 years, his tenure at ACS Clothing Limited has been marked by a transformative leadership in sustainability, organizational development and reshaping the company into a socially just, carbon neutral, circular business model. So I would like to welcome everybody today to Michael Cusack, who is joined us today. So are you on, you taking mute off?
I'm live and vocal.
Brilliant, testing, and we can all hear you. Absolutely fantastic. So first things first then, could you just tell us about your business and give us an overview of your day-to-day?
Well, ACS has been around since 1997. We're sort of born into the circular economy by accident. We are responsible for the rental of clothes. So what we are, circular fashion hub, and what we do is we provide the infrastructure for the industry. So we do all the sanitizing, the cleaning, the pressing, and the storing, picking and packing of garments on behalf of customers all over the UK. In fact, 80% of all men's formal rental actually goes through our facility out at Eurocentral, just off the M8. But not only do we do men's formal wear, we also do ladies' wear, we do children's wear, we do babies' wear, we do outdoor wear, we rent tents and other outdoor equipment. We're even moving into the resale market, so we actually resell garments that from consumers that have come to the end of their use, but we also do it with manufacturers as well. Brands and retailers all over the UK give us garments to resell on their behalf. So we provide all these wonderful services, but we're now also looking at the end of life, and we're involved in things like, so I'd met some people down in London, and we were talking about refugees, and they were telling me about life jackets and the people crossing the channel. And I'd said, we could recycle them, and we're now recycling them. So we're now recycling life jackets, and I've just finished a feasibility study on the recycling of used shoes. So as a business, we're continually growing. We're the very heart of circular fashion. But what I would say to you is, at the very core, what's enabled a lot of that has been workforce development. Because you need the people, and you need people with the right skills, the right attitude in order to enable all this. So that's been at the very core, at the enabling all these wonderful things to happen. There is not much like us throughout Europe. The biggest players in the world come to our facility, like Rent the Runway, Y Closet in China, to look at some of the things that we are doing. So maybe stop at that point, take you through on a day-to-day operation. Yes. Basically, I've got responsibility for sustainability. Sustainability is very, very core to everything that we do. We've sort of re-engineered the business around sustainability. But in order, what actually is at the heart of that is people that enable sustainability. And that's what we've been doing in terms of workforce development. But in terms of sustainability, I not only do the environmental side, the reduction in emissions of the business, which we do very well at. 25% reduction just last year. We're 100% renewable energy. But we also do the social side, and that's the sort of where we're having a bigger impact from a workforce development perspective. We do a lot of just some statistics I'll throw out there. 15% of our workforce are registered disabled. That's all neurodiversity. 10% of workforce are from the refugee community. 3%, well, upwards of 3%, are actually ex-offenders. We've got people from long-term care. We've focused in on those most disadvantaged in society with a view to fueling our growth and bringing in or developing our own skilled workforce. So the social side is really important. We are also involved in major education programs. We work with schools on the sustainability development goals. We're a B Corp. We've got one of the highest scores in the world. We're also, last year, I was in Buckingham Palace, and we received an award from the King's Award for Excellence in Sustainable Development. We're going for the Social Award this year. Hopefully we'll get that. So we've got, we're really proud of the journey that we've made, and where we are at this point. And where we are is quite advanced, but it's only the start of the journey. There's so much to be done in our industry and other industries in terms of sustainability. And I'll come back to it. Workforce development is very core to that.
Well, let's take you to the very beginning, Michael. Talk to me about the very start of your workforce development and how you started to engage with your teams.
Sorry, Tess.
Sorry, no, I'm just saying, take me back to the very beginning and how you got started.
Well, back in 2018, Brexit had a major impact. Nearly over a couple of years, nearly 60% of our workforce left the business, and it was through Brexit. And it was we had these highly skilled Polish workers. Many of them served 5-year apprenticeships back in Poland in textile care. Fantastic work ethic, fantastic skills, but because of the uncertainty around Brexit, whatever your politics are, I can only tell you it had a big impact in our business. So what we did is we working with organisations like Skills Development Scotland, and we've got Neil Cunningham, who actually attended the meeting back in 2018 in April. We actually sat down with Scottish Enterprise, the SQA, Skills Development Scotland, and we all sat around and we said, how do we turn this major impact in our business around? We're losing people. We needed to grow as a business. And the very time when there was great opportunities in our industry, what was happening was we're losing highly skilled people. So what we decided to do, rather than go out and poach people from other organisations, and there wasn't many there, what we decided to do was grow it. And through people, Skills Development Scotland and Neil Cunningham, what we were able to do was better understand how we could grow. So we became, for example, an SQA centre. And we launched a modern apprenticeship programme in the various key skill areas that we had. So we took ownership of that. We developed, based on the national standards, we adapted our processes to meet those standards. We created a virtual learning academy at little cost. We used Moodle and we used Camtasia in terms of the creation of that material. So we created our own training material, our assessment plans. We had our own assessors, internal verifiers, and quickly built up. And within months, and Neil will verify that, we became a centre. And we also managed to get, and thank you again, some funding to help with that journey as well. And from there, we started to look at other things like graduate apprenticeships. We started reaching out to organisations like Developing the Young Workforce and reaching out to local communities and bringing people in, making them more aware of what our company did. Because up to that point, we were very introspective. We didn't really venture out with the boundaries of the factory. That was for multinationals, blue chips. That wasn't for an SME, was it? And it is. And it has had a big impact because we're now bringing lots of people in. During COP26, we actually brought in nearly 1,000 young people from all over, from schools all over Lanarkshire, into our business, and also to a big event in Glasgow celebrating COP26 and sustainability in the fashion industry. So what I would say to you is, some of the things that you see there, we lack a workforce, we were losing people, there was a lack of skills, we needed to develop people. There was this new emerging circular fashion, understanding more about the circular economy, green jobs. We needed to develop our own people because there weren't many people really operating in that field. So, and as you can see, we were actually projecting a tenfold level in growth of our business. And we needed the people in order to do that, skilled people with the right attitude that wanted to be part of our journey.
So, Michael, what has been the increase in your workforce since you've started this workforce development and you've had this period of growth in your business?
Well, we're now operating at 190 people we've got. And back then, we were down to a level, just after 2020, we would have been around about 50 people. So It's been that might not say there'll be some larger organisations, but that is a massive growth.
That's massive.
For us. And it was all organic, leveraging different programs out there like Modern Apprenticeship. Just as a start, we've got 36 modern apprentices right now. We offer everybody these opportunities. And what we tend to do is we put a particular focus on those most disadvantaged. We're so attractive. And as I say, we've got fantastic relationships with the Department of Work and Pensions. In fact, I'm just looking at setting up an academy right now with them and bringing in, using the scheme, a scheme that they operate where you actually get staff for or you get people who might wish to join us for 6 weeks, and you get to develop them, bring them in, show them about the workplace, give them a qualification as well, a level 1 qualification in textile care. So they get a qualification, get to see the business. If they like what they see, they get a job.
Amazing. What kind of roles do you offer within your organisation? What kind of different departments do you have?
Most of the roles are operatives because that's the very lifeblood of the organisation. They drive the most value, and we put a big focus on that. So you've got textile care. So what you're doing is processing garments and other items. So you'll be cleaning, sanitising, repairing, pressing, and then what you're doing is putting them into storage and then picking and packing. The picking and packing side is logistics. So what we've got is a sort of logistics angle. So they're the two areas textile care and logistics management. But we also have accountants, and we have IT department, we've got sustainability. And just to give you an idea, I run an internship program where we bring in young talent talent from university. We give them an internship. They come in and work with us. They go on the real living wage, and then it's stepped up over a period of time. I've had 2 people in who've moved on to bigger and better things through that program. So they worked with me for 2 years at a time. The latest person's moved into a business development manager role. So we're actually, even in a small department like sustainability, we grow people. The other thing as well that we draw your attention to, I actually have over 6 students working with me at times, international master students from universities. I've got a constant flow of people coming into the organisation through that way. That's just me. I've also arranged for somebody actually coming from down south, coming up to join our Chief Operating Officer, and they're going to be in a sort of executive PA role. So they're actually a mini version of the CEO, and for 4 months they're going to be working with Anthony. And what they're working with him on is looking at the margins associated with different lines of an accountant, and they're drilling into the data, drilling into the numbers, but they're getting a fantastic experience to work with a CEO of a national-wide business in sustainability. So they're thriving on it.
Absolutely.
So
sorry. I know, I'm just saying, and giving these younger people the opportunity and that experience to get into not only the workforce, but an organisation like yourself in circular economy. I'm just going to bring up another slide for you, Michael. This is a slide that you've sent over. Excuse me, I hope everybody can see that. And that's working. Would you be able to talk me through some of these programs that you've worked on in the past as part of your development programs?
So what you see is some of the things like Circulytics. The one I would draw in is Disability Confident Leader. We did that over a 2-year period, worked through a 3-tier system. The Disability Confidence Scheme is a fantastic program that actually helps you develop your organisation. So it transforms the organisation. It helps you with the infrastructure. It helps you with the training. It's a fantastic infrastructure. We worked our way through it, and it's allowed us to be able to support people with disabilities coming into the organisation, helping to develop these individuals more effectively, helping to attract them and retain them within the business as well. So that was absolutely critical. Some of the things you see, the No Limits programme is a local programme run in North Lanarkshire, and it's run by the council. And what they've got is people with disabilities that come from school, and they want to give them a chance. They want to help develop them, and they want to pace that development. And so what they do is they actually place these young people in businesses over a 1-year period, and there's lots of development for them. And we've supported that programme since its inception, and we've had some really good talent coming through that programme. They're still with us and working away, and they're a pleasure to work with. The other thing as well is, I've got things like supported modern apprenticeship and modern apprenticeships. Everybody gets the opportunity to do a modern apprenticeship. It might not be a stereotypical person that you would expect, no matter whatever your background is, no matter your age, you'll get the opportunity to do a modern apprenticeship. Some of you run modern apprenticeships. The funding's a lot better for a 16-year-old than it is for somebody in their 30s. But we have many people in their 30s doing the modern apprenticeship programme. We do various internships as well. We've created quite a talent pipeline, and what we do is we reach out to the local community and we set up development programs with specific groups. So we've brought in quite a few people, from the refugee community, and we pace their development. We give them the opportunity to see the organisation, get them used to the workplace in terms of timekeeping, attendance, what it's like to work in a workplace with other people. We help them with, some of the cultural inclusion into the business, things like language, ESOL training, etc. But also what we do is we get somebody to buddy up with them. And we've got a range of nationalities. And, you wouldn't believe people from Uganda, Ukraine, Syria, Afghanistan. We've got people from all over, and it's fantastic. And it's not an atypical organisation in the west of Scotland. These internship programs, we do them with people in terms of people with disabilities from the college, New College Lanarkshire. We did some fantastic work. What you see in front of you right now in this slide, our talent pipeline, one of the many talent pipelines. This one here was more about people with disabilities. And you can see the range of organisations that we've worked with. You know, you've got New College Lanarkshire, you've got the two councils, you've got Glasgow Caledonian University, you've got the Scottish Union of Supported Employers, Department of Work and Pensions, you've got Developing the Young Workforce, and we've got Scottish Government get involved as well and give us support. So what we are doing is, what I would say to you, if anybody asks the question, what would you see as your biggest strength? Biggest strength we've got, and the thing that's had the biggest impact, is collaboration. And as you can see, we collaborate with these organisations. They recognise the fact that we might not be the most innovative, but we're very can-do. We can make things happen. We just get our sleeves rolled up and make it happen. If somebody comes in with an idea, we'll try it. We'll try anything. We love what we do. We're very, very passionate about what we do. We're passionate about people. So you can see some of the organisations here, but there's a multitude of others, from the UKFT to even the Westminster. We work with different departments, government. We work with organisations like Resource Efficient. Well, it used to be Resource Efficient Scotland, but you've also got a Scottish Enterprise come in and work with us, Zero Waste Scotland. We also work with WRAP down south. So it's all these different organisations. And the amount, what we get from it, the value that we get, we collaborate and we learn. We work with experts in these fields, experts at no cost. If you go out and try and get yourself a consultant to come in and help you with some of these things, you'd be £600-700 a day, or maybe more, and expenses. But what I would say to you is we get experts in, and we get potential funding as well. So in some of the partnerships, we even get funding to pay for some of the salaries that, you know, for the individuals coming onto the programs. So people are sort of drawn to us, and especially, look, I'll have to be honest with you, it's quite an exciting industry. It's circular fashion. It's happening. The fashion industry's got a terrible reputation in terms of the harm to the environment and the destruction of communities globally through the resource that they use and take, and how they use these resources. So, you know, we are actually seen as a shining light. So people are sort of drawn to us on this and want to collaborate, and they want to be part of making things happen.
Michael, you're speaking so passionately about workforce development and planning for your people, especially like with people with barriers and working with all ages and bringing in a young talent. You also speak so passionately about working with partners as well. So I can understand that they would be top pieces of your advice for any employer. But could I ask, what if you had an employer that came to you and said, look, we need to review our workforce planning. We had something in place, but it's not working. We want to start from the very beginning. Where do we start? How do we do this? How can we be more ACS?
Well, what I would say to you is the big thing about it was we didn't do what we've done overnight. It's all about small steps, about small wins, and it's about just embarking on the route. But the other thing I would say to you is start off with having a conversation. My conversation was Neil Cunningham in Skills Development Scotland. That's how we started off, and we just built on it. And through the expertise in organisations like Skills Development Scotland, what you're able to do is they'll give you the pointers. You don't need to be an expert in this. And all I would say is the burning issue within your organisation, they can help you with, and they can transform that, and you can build on it. What I would say to you is, with every small win you get, encourages you to do more and more and more. The thing about it is, we're constantly, you know, the benefits of this are absolutely incredible. And the thing about it is, as an individual coming to the end of my career, it really is motivating. I have never been so more engaged and passionate about anything than I am now. And what I would say to you is, from what we've been doing, from what we've been achieving, it just motivates you to try more and more. And the thing about it is, we're involved in so many different things now, and we don't have a big department. It's only me and one other person. There's only two of us. And what we get is the support of the whole organisation. People want to get involved in this. That wasn't at the start. What I'm saying to you is, so the small steps help. Just start off small, work in something that's important to you, it's of value to you, engage with organisations like Skills Development Scotland, who will put you on. If it's not something they can help you with, they'll put you in touch with somebody else. They have fantastic networks. If they don't know it, somebody else will know it. And that's what I find.
Absolutely. Have you found in then the last 5 years that there has been a return on investment in your input to workforce development through your teams?
Well, we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't through workforce development. We couldn't afford to go out and spend all the money in recruitment to bring in the individuals that we have. The other thing as well is the job roles that we have are very specific to us, and we needed to have bespoke development in place. We wouldn't have been able to afford the funding if we were to look at external organisations to help us to do that growth. And to be honest with you, there's not many external organisations can help you in the field that we're in, because we're sort of leading the way globally in this area. So what it's challenging what we do, yes, but what I would say to you is the opportunities are absolutely huge. The opportunities in terms of personal satisfaction, fulfillment, the opportunities to help the business grow, the opportunity to help others in society less fortunate than yourself. I mean, I'm working through workforce development. I'm actually working in a project to end poverty. And you'll say, how are you doing that? Well, how I'm doing that is that we actually are looking at, we've got a financial welfare policy that we developed. And we're now saying we pay the real living wage, and we're proud of that. However, even getting paid the real living wage, there are people who spend more than 100% of what they earn. And what you want to try and do is through education, through training, providing support, what you're looking to do is, develop those individuals and help them, not just in the workplace, but in their life. And we do that. We partner again. I don't create the material. I work with credit unions, and we work with ScotWest, and we brought ScotWest into the organisation. We work with North Lanarkshire Council. We bring them into workplace. They've got a poverty unit, and they come in and they give training to our people. They give counselling services. They give other support, other resources, help them understand more about what benefits they're required in a non-threatening way. So, and another thing, I had the moderator at Church of Scotland in just 2 weeks ago to have a look around, wanted to understand more about what a circular business was all about. And whilst then they started saying, is there a role for spirituality in a business? Like, if you asked me 5 years ago, you're going to have a conversation with the head of the Church of Scotland in your company to discuss spirituality in a business, I'd have laughed at you. But that was the conversation that we're having. And in truth, there is a role in terms of workforce development, in terms of spirituality. There's ways that you can help people around mental health, and also help them in other aspects of their life. So, these are sort of things that, and the other thing as well is we've got an ecumenical initiative where we invite people of different faiths and backgrounds to celebrate World Refugee Day. So, these are other things that we do within our organisation. So, all I'd say to you is that we're growing all the time. The stuff that we get involved in all the time is constantly changing. I couldn't tell you what I'm going to be working on next, but what we do in terms of workforce development touches in so many different aspects, not just in the business, not just in our industry, but in society at large.
That sounds incredible. By the way, audience, I did say not only would you be learning from Michael, but you will be inspired as well. So talk to me, Michael, a little bit about the future. So I think you've answered a bit of it in your what you've been previously saying, but look into the future. I know you said, I don't know what I'll be working on next, but what's the plan? Aligning with net zero, aligning with Fair Work, the Scottish Government initiatives, but also thinking about Industry 4.0. What's the next stage for ACS in the digital industry?
Well, the big thing is about fueling growth. into other particular parts of the business, the end of life, when new legislation coming in, extended producer responsibility, and developing the skills to do that. The other thing as well is looking at more ways that we can impact the local community and work in partnership with the local community. We have plans around things like, so in terms of business growth, is there a way that we, instead of just doing a traditional model of, basically starting a new, plant and maybe a division of the business, could that be a social enterprise? Is there something there? So looking at innovative organisational models in terms of fueling that growth. The other things that come to mind as well is looking at all aspects of a person's life. If you look at the Wheel of Life, I mentioned about spirituality there, but we're also looking at things like fitness. We're looking at mental health. We have mental health first aiders, 19 mental health first aiders, but we're looking at these aspects. So you're looking at the total person and you say, but you're a business. It's about prosperity. Yes, it is about prosperity, but it's also about the people, and it's also about the planet, and it's about protecting the planet, and it's about aiding the people, enhancing the people's well-being and life in the broadest sense. And if you look after them, they'll look after you. They'll look after the business. They'll become part of that business. There's a lot more that we learn. What I would say to you is, again, I mentioned earlier about B Corp. We use these models to help fuel the growth. So what I've been doing is I'm actively involved in B Corp, and I'm looking at ways that that model can help our business. Because the thing about it is, much that we've got a good team, we're not the greatest. We're no academics. We don't know the leading research. But there's one thing for sure, there are people out there. Oh, and on that, one of the things was through conversations with people in Strathclyde University. I had 40 students from Strathclyde University in looking at what we do in terms of sustainability development goals. They spent a day with us, and whilst they were in, I got talking with the lecturer who put me in touch with somebody else in the university, who then brought in another 3 professors from other universities, so Heriot-Watt in Edinburgh, and they are now coming into the business, and they're looking at how can they help to improve the productivity of our business through measurement? And they're looking at the state of the art, Internet of Things, looking at metrics, looking at the movement of people, looking at the movement equipment. Do you know, honestly, it explodes my mind, the possibilities in that. They're looking at turning our business into a laboratory, and we're putting a joint bid in on that. So these are the sort of things I couldn't tell you, because they constantly change. And one of the things is there's new opportunities all the time. There is so much happening in sustainability, in the field of sustainability, as businesses are trying to become more and more circular, and as they're trying to eliminate waste, and then they're trying to have a better impact in society.
Absolutely. Well, by the way, Michael, I could talk to you all day, especially when it comes to sustainability and your net zero. But do you know what? I am going to open it up to the floor a little bit, because I do think we've got some questions coming in. So, Alistair, would you be able to have a look through some of the questions and see what Michael can answer from the audience today?
Yeah, of course. And I think for a couple of questions, some of them more practical ones, just being able to answer directly around like the helpline number and things like that.
Oh,
However, a few questions that have came in. So you touched on some of it, Michael, but as an SME, how are you supporting and managing 26 MAs? Because obviously there's quite an undertaking in terms of the infrastructure required for that type of thing, the support potentially required. And I suppose building on a wee bit from that, keeping on the subject of the MAs, not just around how you're supporting them and managing them, around funding. You mentioned obviously that I think you've been able to access some funding maybe around salaries, but is that also been for MA, modern or graduate apprenticeships, or is that for other roles within the business? So we'll go with those 2 questions to begin with.
So the first thing is, I've got one of my colleagues manages the modern apprenticeships. We've got quite a lean process for managing them. We've actually structured out the year. We know exactly what we're going to do on a month-by-month basis with each of the apprentices. The assessors are actually the team leaders that are working in these areas that do the assessment, but we also do 100% internal verification. So my colleague, he does the 100% verification. It does take some time, but the thing about it is, what I know when you first look at this, it looks daunting, but it isn't really. Once you get to grips with it, we need to train our people. We need them trained. We need them trained in our processes. We need to prove they're competent. That's what modern apprenticeship does. So even if we weren't doing a modern apprenticeship, we'd need to do that. So the modern apprenticeship programme is just part of how we do business. In terms of funding of it, we get funding. It's not, I'll have to be honest with you, it's not as good as maybe I would like. I would always like more funding, but we get by with it. It's standard funding for modern apprenticeships. We also get a wee bit for working with the Department of Work and Pension. We're doing this, I call it a foundation apprenticeship. I think Tess will probably disagree with it. There is a defined foundation apprenticeship, but we've got a pre-apprenticeship programme it's actually a level 3 qualification, and what we do is what allows people to come in and understand more about the business and prepare themselves to move on to that. So, you know, the infrastructure's all there. We've been now doing it since 2020. We've learned a lot about it. Both myself and my colleague Andrew McFarlane, you know, process experts. You know, I'm a Lean Six Sigma, a black belt, and Andy's gone through the processes. So we approach it the same as we would with any other process in our operations function. So it's pretty lean, but it works for us. And you know, we've actually got more modern. We built up. It wasn't 36 the first year. It was 5, and we built it up. And we used the Kickstarter program when it was out in order to develop this modern apprenticeship as well. So that gave us a pilot. So we sort of tiptoed into it. We got our big toes wet, and then we started to wade in slowly, and we built up this expertise in it. The other thing, just for your information, is that as an organisation, we go through Genius People. So we have our own SQA centre. We run the modern apprenticeship, but we go through this organisation, Genius People, who do part of the administration, and they do the bid process that happens in terms of modern apprenticeship. So they take a bit of the burden from us, but you know, we take ownership of that administration.
And just for clarification there, Michael, so as you touched on regarding the funding, the funding receiving is obviously for the delivery of the apprenticeship itself, the training, but in terms of funding towards the actual salaries of the MA or GA, that's not covered. It's purely just the training aspect of it.
Yeah, we have in the past used Routes to Work. And that helped. In the foundation apprenticeship, we're working with this new Department of Work and Pension programme that they're offering, where you get up to 6 weeks of an individual to come to your business, and they even give some money towards the training as well. So there are funds out there, and we are constantly scouring about for them. It is getting tighter at the moment, but we would be doing this whether it was funding or not funding.
No bother. Just one more question here, just conscious of time. And again, you've kind of spoken about it there in terms of the infrastructure you've got in place to support the apprenticeships, but someone was interested in knowing, how did you enable buy-in from your senior management team and your wider teams in order to support your approach and the development of talent within the business?
Again, they've got confidence in what we do, and it's purely based on, as I say, the small wins, looking at small projects and building up. I can, you know, in a multinational, if they were to do some of the projects I do, would take them 6 months of discussion and focus groups and various meetings. Over a coffee in 5 minutes, I can get a decision made on all these initiatives. You know, even the recycling of shoes was a 5-minute coffee break in Glasgow. So, you know, the thing is, they've got a lot of confidence in what we do. Does it always go right? No. Yeah, we're constantly learning. There are times when things don't pay off, when we do try things and they don't happen. But the thing about it is, it's not being hard on yourself. and it's about dusting yourself down and looking at the learnings from that. I know it's a bit cliche, but it does work. You're constantly learning. You're learning what not to do. You're learning what works.
Okay, thank you very much for answering those questions, and thanks to those who submitted questions. Back to yourself, Tess.
Thank you. Can I just say, I need another hour webinar to speak to you, Michael. Honestly, I'd love, from what I've been hearing, it's been down, this hasn't happened overnight for ACS. It's been down to people planning, your culture within your team, and like you say, building those quick wins as well, and then collaboration with partners, trying new things. So it sounds all so exciting. And now that you've been doing it for so many years, you've built up such a network that and such a culture within your team. It's just what you do, isn't it? It's part of your brand, isn't it? So yeah. It's excellent. Can I just say, because of time, I just want to finish off by just saying a huge, massive thank you to Michael for coming and speaking to us today. Like you say, you've worked with SDS for a few years now, and it's always a pleasure when you share your knowledge with us. We thoroughly enjoyed speaking to you today. We may ask you back because I think we've got lots still to talk about. The hour just isn't enough. This was definitely just an introduction, wasn't it? But in terms of that, just a couple of things before we go, just to let you know, here's some helpful resources. We've spoken a lot about this apprenticeship program today. However, this wasn't an apprenticeship webinar, so please go and find out all the details at apprenticeship.scot. We slightly touched on the Fair Work as well policy, so please check out the Fair Work employer support tool that's available as well. Of course, if you are interested in funding, the best place to look for funding is businesssupport.gov.uk, and of course Employer Hub is what I spoke about as well, where you'll find all the details about the employer helpline and how to get in touch with your nearest SDS representative as well. And of course, another SDS website, My World of Work, which is an excellent skills tool to look at for anybody who is in their careers. So I think because of time, that is us for today. But I just want to say a big thank you to Michael again. Can't thank you enough. And Alistair, thank you for the admin support and the Q&A. I think we may have more questions, so we'll send out all the resources with questions with the feedback as well. But that is 2 minutes past 12, so we've hit just over the hour. But thank you for attending today, and please look out for more webinars in the future. Thanks now.